I have a dream. My 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
You're a white male!
You're white! You're still responsible!
The world is upside down. I thought the whole idea was to not judge people by their skin color.
That's what racism used to mean.
I can no longer teach contemporary moral problem. Anything that involved issues of race and gender seems to me a minefield.
Racism's been redefined. Sexism's been redefined.
This is all through the culture.
And if we can't talk, what's left?
I'm not a Nazi. Why are we not taught the historical consequences of those who viewed the world through optics of groups that have power and groups that don't?
Is this not the central problem of our time?
Alright, so I'm gonna like this just to see, and also subscribe to this channel. But there's some, okay, so what do you guys think? Because I have some, both some criticism, and also I like it, by the way. It looks like it's gonna be interesting. But I also have some criticism. What do you guys think, though?
Am I echoing?
Oh, there you go, fixed.
Okay, now we're fixed. Well, I'm really interested to see more teasers and content released from the film.
Your audio is like, oh, there we go, it got fixed.
For more background, so one of the kind of aspects of this film is talking about how we have like all these ideas about how society operates, and these kind of like myths about how they operate and continue to operate. And in the 21st century, a certain degree of political extremism has kind of caused some of these myths about how society operates that we've just agreed upon to kind of fall apart. And then at the end of the film, they are supposed to propose some solutions. And I'm really excited for those more information of that part of the film to come out. So yeah, Vince, what was your first take?
It seems like it's an interesting project. I like the director, Deshamila. I liked his previous work on Islam and the Future of Tolerance. I'm interested to see how they broach this topic, because a lot of people have different view. Like, generally speaking, the view is that yes, these political extremist views on either end are bad, but people tend to have different reasonings behind why that's bad, and they have different beliefs on how a liberal democracy should function. So I'm interested to see what their solution, what their remedy to this problem is. I don't know too much of Deshamila's views. I only know them to the extent that I was at the premiere of Islam and the Future of Tolerance in the Q&A section, and he gave his quick, brief views on free speech and free speech absolutism. So I'm interested to see what their solution to this problem would be, to which I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I also, but based on the trailer though, it seems to me like it's a bit one-sided. Didn't it come across like that?
As maybe favoring more or highlighting more problems on leftist political extremism?
Yeah, like
that was
isn't
the take that I got.
Yeah, because we're talking about political extremism, and what we showed was wokeism. You know, basically people calling race. I mean, okay, so one obvious criticism would be like, we have far right extremists, literally, threatening people's lives, right? On one side,
or taking them.
Yes, and on the other side, we have woke people calling things racist that are not racist. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, they're both a problem, but is it the same? And okay, and if you want to address both of them, I mean, both of them is a problem, but in the trailer at least, we didn't even see the other side even being highlighted, right?
There was a little bit of that. You saw the tiki torches of
yeah, but okay,
yeah, Charlottesville.
Yeah, you're right, but let's see how much of it. Like it feels like it was 90%. It was 90%. Oh, I can't even criticize this. These people call redefine racism, this, and that, and we show like, oh, you're a white male. Like that was like another far lefty person going crazy, and then that was like 90% of the trailer, and then you had like a tiki torches for like
Right.
half a second. Right? So that was like far right people. I mean, again, the problem with far left is like, they want to censor everything, they want to redefine everything. But again, the problem with the far right is they literally want you to end. I'm not gonna, like they want, like, okay. So here's the thing: when it comes to far left people, what I'm worried about is that I'm not going to be able to get to say the things that I want to say, right? But if you are brown or black, if you're trans, if you're gay, if you're a woman, if you're Jewish, or if you're a woman that doesn't want, like, okay, so you literally, these people, the far right people, they have a problem with they don't have a problem with your speech. They have a problem with your entire existence, right? And I feel like I was concerned that like this trailer might be both sides, like being like both sides are bad kind of thing, but it didn't even do that. It was only mostly highlighting the other side. Maybe by the way, I'm still excited about the movie, right? And maybe it will be a little bit more fair when the movie comes out. But if we're talking about political, I mean, it would be okay also to make an entire movie dedicated to highlighting how crazy the woke left has become. But if that's, as long as that is the title and that is the description, but if we're making an entire movie talking about political extremism as a whole, I think it would be unfair if you then just only highlighting the Wokistani left.
I always laugh with Wokistani. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Granted, this is like a 1-minute trailer, right? It'll be interesting to see what else is highlighted in more promotion that comes out. And I'm sure we'll be discussing that further. But I know that one important theme of the film is highlighting the breakdown of conversation and like what we can talk about and how the breakdown of conversation has led to a lot of this polarization when people can't even get together to have, supposedly impossible conversations. And that is one aspect that the wokey far left like really does cripple discourse. But you're right, like one side definitely does have like much more severe consequences, meaning like if you're breathing or not. Yes. But there is also, I mean, we can get into this later, likely we will in a second. There is also like political violence on the left, and people try to deny that. Not
to the same extent, though.
Not to the same extent, but there are a lot of people who deny that it exists, period, which isn't true, and it's particularly frustrating to me. And people don't condemn it as readily, I think. And I can speak from personal experience on that. But I think maybe that's one thing I did appreciate that about this teaser, probably because of my personal experience, is having that highlighted. Because I don't think it's called out and condemned as readily as it should be.
Yeah, if I'm typing something, by the way, I'm not doing something else. I'm actually following Armin's advice to write down immediate thoughts that come to mind when one of you guys says it, so that way I don't forget it. So
He's
yeah,
taking notes.
Thank you. Armin told me to. So the general theme of the actual documentary, the way it's presented is it's attempting to expose the extreme sides of both political aisles and how that's harming liberal democracy. So that's the way it's presented. So if that's the way it's presented, then the expectation should be that you are being fair and balanced and demonstrating both of these sides, both of their sins, both of their both of the way that they could potentially harm our democracy. But as you guys have pointed out, it seems to be showing only one side. So I don't know if the film is going to be like that. Maybe it could just be presented in that way for the sake of being more popular among the people that it's trying to lure in. And my reasoning behind that is that, well, how are these films? This happens all the time with films, right? The way that the trailers are cut out, the way that its promotional material is cut out, is set out in a way to lure a particular audience. And given the fact that this documentary has people like Steven Pinker, Noam Chomsky, Michael Shermer, Coleman Hughes, all people who are very openly against woke culture, that maybe this is just a marketing tactic, and they're trying to lure in people who are fans of those people that are very much on the woke left. And then when they actually watch the movie, maybe it is going to be a lot more fair and balanced, because now it has the audience that it's intended to attract. So if anything, because that audience is very much anti-woke, and they're probably a lot more forgiving to the far right than we would probably be, now it's actually managing to present those anti-far right arguments to this new audience. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm just viewing this from what could be the business tactics and the marketing tactics behind the actual film. Because Deshamila is experienced. This isn't his first documentary. He's been in this business for a while, so he must know how the marketing games are played. And even if and again, that just boils down to the way that it's presented. I wouldn't even mind if it was just strictly focusing only on the far left or the radical left or the woke left, if it presents itself that way. In the same way that I don't mind Vice documentaries strictly focusing on the far right. I think that's perfectly fine if you want to only highlight one specific aspect of society and make arguments against or in defense of that particular aspect of society. But because this is presenting itself in a way that claims to show the dangers of both the far left and the far right, I hope that it's being fair and balanced when the actual film comes out.
Well, it shouldn't even be balanced, because it should be, our main concern when it comes to violence is the far right. But here's it should be, if we want to talk about both, you should be mostly, it doesn't have to be balanced, because reality is balanced, you know what I mean? And when it comes to the violence from the far left, the worst we get is property damage.